Son of a bitch, so close. So many takes. Hey everybody, just me again, Wayne. What I've got for you today is a composite video. I was doing 2 guitar unboxings, going to do 2 reviews, and in the middle of the second one I thought, yeah, I'll just make one. Since they're both V guitars, one is an Epiphone Prophecy V, the other is an LTD Aero 1000. I thought, they're both Vs, so I'll just compare them. Do one video instead of 2. Now, why do this at all? Why compare these two? Well, because although you can find various reviews, a few reviews anyway, of each type of guitar on YouTube and elsewhere on the web, I haven't found any that are actually comparing these 2 guitars, and they're both aimed at pretty much the same market. Both of these are kind of mid-priced guitars. The Epiphone goes from anywhere from $750 to $1,000, and the Aero anywhere from $1,000 to about $1,400, depending upon what color you get, which is kind of weird, but we'll get into that just a little bit later. And if you're like me, when I'm torn between 2 products, whether it's 2 guitars or 2 amps or 2 dogs or whatever, I like to read as many reviews and especially comparisons as I can find, so I can sort of correlate the good, the bad, and the ugly, as it were, to help me make up my mind. So anyway, that's what this is for, and I hope you get some good out of it. Before we get to the sound demonstrations, though, just some general info. Shipping and first impressions. Now, I got 2 Epiphones, actually. The first one arrived with no Allen wrenches and not very well packed in its box, and a minimal amount of paper in the shipping box even, and had a big old scratch on the upper horn, as you shall see. So I sent that back, and the company, sent me another one. Well, sent me another one. I pay for all this stuff. Although if any guitar company is watching this and you'd like me to plug your shit in exchange for some free gear, just let me know. I have no shame. I'll do that. Anyway, as I was waiting for the second Epiphone to arrive, I saw the LTD Aero 1000. Thought, man, that's a nice guitar. Actually, with my wife, who said, that's a really pretty guitar. And I have to agree, it is a pretty guitar. And it was in more or less the same price range as the Epiphone, so I thought, oh, what the hell. So I ordered that, and I can only keep one of these, and I'll tell you which one it is at the end of the video. Now, the Aero arrived packed immaculately, styrofoam and held in place in the box and all that kind of thing, which you'll see in the video. The second Epiphone arrived, and its box was not even taped shut. The shipping box was, but the box that the Epiphone was in was not even taped shut, and not much padding, and again, no Allen wrenches, so there was that. I think both these are really nice looking guitars. The Epiphone, of course, has that real classic sort of V shape, while the LTD is a much more modern, kind of sharky looking sort of thing. Both of them have some nice binding on the neck, and the binding around the body of the Epiphone I think looks great, while that beveled body that the LTD has I think looks equally good. Now, both of these are in a matte finish. I thought the Epiphone was going to be glossy, but turns out it wasn't, and it's just a fingerprint magnet. Any matte guitar finish is a fingerprint magnet. But the Epiphone is particularly so because it's black. You could just wave at that thing, and then the FBI could photograph your prints perfectly from 100 feet away. So if that's something that you're concerned about, you might consider the Tiger Eye Gloss finish for your Epiphone Prophecy. Although honestly, I think the Tiger Eye Gloss is ugly as fuck. It just looks like a tobacco sunburst. It's a little stripy. But that's just me. But anyway, they both look good, they both have nice fret inlays, and just nice looking guitars. Each of them has an ebony fretboard. The Epiphone's is your standard black ebony, while the LTD has what's called a Macassar ebony fretboard. It feels just like regular ebony, but it's instead of black, it's kind of a dark reddish brown, and you can see some wood grain. So it goes really well aesthetically with the red body of the LTD. The Epiphone's neck is described as a slim asymmetrical taper, but it's not that slim. It feels like a C neck to me, maybe even a U. It's a nice chunky piece of wood, but it does taper as it gets near the body, and the asymmetry comes in because the neck tapers more. It gets more slender under the G, B, and E strings, which is kind of nice. That gives you a little, helps your lead playing a little bit. The LTD is described as having a U-shaped neck, but it's not. It really feels more like a C to me, and a pretty shallow C also. Radius, the Epiphones is a 12-inch radius, and the LTD's is 13.7 inches. 13.7-inch radius, or 350 millimeters, which sounds a lot more symmetrical than 13.7 inches. Oh yeah, scale. The Epiphones is your standard Gibson 24.75-inch scale, while the LTD has a 25.5-inch scale. And I should mention that both necks have a satin finish, so that's nice. They're both pretty fast. As far as the bridges go, the LTD has a Floyd Rose bridge. Floyd Rose 1000 SE, I think it is. It's the same Floyd that's on my Jackson DK2QM, and it works really well, just like you'd think a Floyd would work. The Epiphone does not have a Floyd. It has no vibrato, but it does not have just the standard stop-tail bridge like you find on most Epiphones and Gibsons. I think it's called a lock tone or lockdown bridge and tailpiece, which means they stay in place when you take the strings off instead of just falling off like on a Les Paul or something. And I think they provide a little more tuning stability also than just your standard tune-o-matic bridge. So the Epiphone stays in tune really, really well between that locking lockdown bridge and the Grover locking tuners that it has. The LTD stays in tune pretty well also because it's got a locking nut to go with the Floyd, but it does, it has a vibrato at all, so that means that it's not going to stay in tune quite as well as something that does not have a vibrato. But it does pretty well. Each of them has a mahogany body. The Epiphone has a mahogany neck as well. It's a set neck, and the LTD has a three-piece maple neck, and it's neck-through construction, which is pretty cool. And as you will see in the video a little bit later, each of them suffers from a bit of neck dive. Okay, the LTD suffers from a bit of neck dive. The Epiphone suffers from like 60 degrees of neck dive, maybe close to 90 degrees. You'll see, that sucker falls. So anyway, let's get on to the excerpts from the unboxing videos and then some sound comparisons. It's been a rough summer, especially the past couple of weeks, because the best dog in the world, the best dog in all of history, as far as I'm concerned, died. So, and nothing can ever really fill the void, not even the new dog. But, as we all know, the rough collie is the most metal of all the large herding breeds, and my dog, Fenris, was the most metal of all rough collies, so I think that Fenris would approve of this little bit of retail therapy. I've wanted a V-shaped guitar for a long time, but two things have kept me from getting one. One, the price. And two, well, the price of a good one. The price of a V-shaped guitar that actually provides good access to all those upper frets. It appears that most V guitars don't give you any better access to, those 18th through 24th frets than you find on a Les Paul or a guitar with a big-ass, bulky Fender-style block neck heel. Is that a word? Block neck heel? Let's pretend like it is, even if it's not. But the two guitars we're going to look at here in the next video appear to be different. And this is the first of them. So let's take a look, shall we? It was interesting to me when you see a label that says, "Do not open with sharp objects," because it would be better just to beat them open with a hammer or a crowbar or something. Alright. Got packing paper. It's like a clown car. Yeah. Here we have an LTD Aero 1000, and this comes in two colors, at least as of roughly the time period in which I've bought one, at least for the moment. They come in Andromeda Violet, which actually looks really cool. It changes colors in the light, which is super neat. But for $200 fewer, maybe 300 fewer, it comes in Candy Apple Red. So that's the one that I went for. I'm excited about this. Okay, so the first thing I'm seeing, the first thing I'm seeing is the upper horn of the body has poked through this semi-cloth, semi-paper bag that it's in, but I guess that shouldn't be too surprising. But check that out, it's got styrofoam at the top and the bottom, and it's taped into the box. I have never seen that before. Taped in with two, bubble wrap things. Bag of Allen wrenches and our vibrato arm there. And check that out. Even the styrofoam in the box is glued in place. How cool is that? Just that little bit of extra care. See if I can. Oh yeah. Wow. Okay. This is not Candy Apple Red as far as any candy apple I've ever seen goes. And this does not look like the photographs. It looks a lot better, actually. It's dark. It's almost a blood red, which I am all for. That is cool looking. You have to admit, that is cool. Got our twin EMG humbuckers there. A single volume knob, no tone, and I am totally okay with that. Two humbuckers and a knob. And a three-way toggle switch. 24 frets, a hang tag, gotta have a hang tag. Lifetime guarantee. Grover, world's finest machine heads. Well, that's good to know. And, okay, what do we got? Neck through construction. It's got a Floyd, that's not a Floyd 1000, it's a Floyd SE 1000, I think is what the ad said. I don't know what the difference is. It's a Floyd. It's got a locking nut up there, so I assume these aren't locking tuners. Indeed, they're not. But why would they need to be, since there's a locking nut? I don't see any problems. At the neck joint, I don't see any weird scratches or cracks or anything on here. I see a fingerprint. That's kind of not what you'd expect. Well, what are you going to do? And it is a matte finish. And, oh my, look at that. You can actually reach the 24th fret. How about them apples, eh? Alright, so there we go. There is our ESP LTD Aero 1000 in quote candy apple end quote red. So that's the unboxing. I gotta admit, I am pleased as hell. And alright, this is an Epiphone Prophecy V that we're going to take a look at. Let's see here. There's no styrofoam around this. I mean, the cardboard's holding it in pretty well, but could be packed better. But anyway, so there's that. Ooh, shiny. Not seeing any cracks around the neck joint, which is awesome. Not that there should be any, but there so often are. Ooh, attention! Valuable and important accessories in box. Do not discard. Well, it's a bag of stickers and things. Okay. I'm going to have to differ with the label. I see no accessories in the box, let alone any that are important and or valuable. But let's get back to this. Oh, nice. Alright, we got the expected 24 frets, two Fleischmann Fluence pickups, fixed bridge. These are supposed to be, and they are, Grover locking tuners, so how cool is that? I assume one of these is volume and one is tone, and a three-way switch, just like you'd expect. And the action looks really low, actually, but is it playable? Dunno. Oh my God, is that a crack? Please don't tell me that's a crack. That is a scratch. Neat. Well, that is just the best fucking thing I could have asked for. It's a scratch right on the horn. Let's tune it up, see how it sounds. All right, there we've had the two individual unboxings. So let's compare these metal monsters, shall we? So the Epiphone Prophecy V. This, of the two guitars we're looking at, this is the one that I ordered first. Well, not this one. The one I ordered first came with a big old scratch on the upper horn. But I sent it back and they shipped me out a new one. And I really, really liked it. And I still like it. It's got pretty good access to all 24 of these frets here, which is great. As I mentioned earlier, I don't understand why any V guitar would not have good access, but so often they have, frets 18 through 24, way down on the body here. And I'm like, what the hell's the point? Other than a guitar that looks cool. Well, I mean, looking cool is fine, but I want one that looks cool and that I can actually play. And yeah, so if I didn't want access to those upper frets, I could just play any of the guitars that I have already. So anyway, this one plays pretty well. Neck's kind of, it's kind of thick. One thing first, before we get to the sound demonstration. Yeah, little neck dive. Okay, quite a bit of neck dive actually, which makes this a bit of a pain in the ass to play. Now, if I had on a leather strap, right, or a strap that was padded underneath here, this would not happen, nearly so badly, I would imagine. But I don't, and I don't always have a leather strap just handy. So, the neck dive is kind of a problem. But this has Fishman Fluence pickups, and god damn, they sound good. So let's check it out. before we get into the sound demonstration of this here. It's got some neck dive, but nowhere near as pronounced as the Epiphone has. And also, because the bottom horn on this guitar is so much shorter than the other one, just lodge it right up against the thigh there, and neck dive's all taken care of. Okay, sound. But Wayne, almost certainly no one is saying, which guitar do you like better? Which one are you going to keep, since you can keep only one? Well, let's break this verdict down into sound, playability, and a category we'll just call other. I think the Epiphone absolutely has the edge in sound. Those Fishman Fluence pickups sound just absolutely great to me, and they're almost noise-free, even when, you know, the volume is turned up, and you get a lot of control, a lot of subtle control over the sound of them. So I think the Fishmans just sound absolutely great. Now that having been said, I think that the active EMGs, an 81 in the bridge position and an 5 in the neck position, on the LTD sound pretty darn good too. They give you that real sort of, you know, aggressive 80s metal kind of sound. So that's good too. They both sound pretty well, but I think the Epiphone kind of has the edge there. But here is kind of an oddity. I found that getting those pinch harmonics was kind of a chore on the Epiphone, whereas they came much more easily on the LTD. Why that is, I don't know. I have heard people say, well, it's the scale of the guitar that makes the difference, but yeah, no, that's not it. Because I have, you know, other 24.75-inch scale guitars that I can get pinched harmonics out of with no problem on any string, anytime. But the Epiphone, it's kind of, I don't know, it's more difficult. And I also have a 24.75-inch guitar on which getting those pinched harmonics is a big pain in the ass. Boy, you got to find exactly the right spot on the string and hit it in exactly the right way. So, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that, but it's harder to get those harmonics on the Epiphone than it is on the LTD. And I have seen another review of the Epiphone Prophecy. I'll put a link to it in the video description, in which that fellow also said he kind of had some difficulty getting the pinched harmonics out of the Epiphone Prophecy. As far as playability, I think that the LTD is, for my hands, better. I like that much slimmer neck. I don't know that the flatter radius makes any difference or much difference, but I do like the more slim neck. And normally, historically, I have always preferred a 24.75-inch scale to a 25.5-inch scale. But I have also never had a guitar on which I could actually access and use those highest frets. And I have found that the 25.5-inch scale makes playing on those highest frets easier than does the 24.75-inch scale. So playability all around is better for me, for my hands, on the LTD than it is on the Epiphone. But now we get into the other category, other. One thing, the Epiphone would be more difficult to break because the LTD has that long-ass upper horn, and boy, you got to be careful when you're walking around or just turning around in the room that you don't crack that thing against the back of a chair or your amplifier or a lamp or a bookcase or the head of your granddaughter. Not that any of those has happened to me. But anyway, so the Epiphone is a little easier just to maneuver in the room. But another great big thing in the other category is that Floyd Rose vibrato bridge on the LTD. That is a big selling point for me. Although I like the sound of the Fishman Fluence pickups better than the sound of the EMGs, honestly, I think if I really wanted that sound, it would be a lot easier to put Fishman pickups in the LTD than it would be to put a vibrato on the Epiphone. I'm not even sure if Floyd would fit on the Epiphone, and if it did, you'd have to do some serious routing, which I'm not qualified to do, and I don't have the money to pay someone else to do it. So the verdict, ultimately, these are both, I think, really nice instruments, and they're both in the same, general price category. I'm going to have to keep the LTD Era 1000. It is with regret that I'll be sending the Epiphone back, but as I say, I can only afford to keep one of them, so I'm going to have to go with the guitar that is easier for me to play, and although it has not as much variety of sound available, it has that Floyd, which is a huge asset. So I'm going to go with the Arrow. But they're both good guitars. Honestly, I don't think you could go wrong with either one of these. So that's what I've got. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Do you have one of these guitars? If so, tell me about your experiences. I just want to know. If you liked this video, and especially if you found it helpful, please feel free to share it with somebody else that you think might get some good out of it. Give it a thumbs up, please. It just takes a quick click of the button, and it really helps me out. And, oh, by the way, if you want to buy one of those In Metal We Trust shirts that I was wearing, just go to the link in this video description. Yeah, I know I'm shamelessly hawking my own wares, but I need a few extra bucks, and I'm certainly not making anything from YouTube. Alright, that's what I've got. Thanks for watching. You guys are awesome. Hey, subscribe if you haven't. Yeah, and I'll talk to you soon.